Welcome to Disambiguation. I'm your host, Michael Fauscette. Each week, we interview experts in artificial intelligence, generative AI, and business automation to help business leaders understand how to use these tools for the biggest business impact. This week, we're going to do something a little bit different. Recently, we just published our Agentic AI Trends and Predictions report for 2026. So on the episode this week, we're going to spend a little bit of time going through some of the highlights from that report and, take a look at what we believe is going to happen over the next few years when it comes to agentic AI and AI in general. The report, really looks at how enterprises are evolving from experimenting with generative AI, which was the hot topic 2 years ago, to operationalize an entire digital workflows of intelligent agents. So in that, we're going to look at some of the things that we think are inevitable. We're going to look at some of the trends that are emerging, but are transformational, and then kind of what's on the frontier. And then, of course, I'll share a little bit about where I think this is all headed. So before we get into these very much, I wanted to just stop for a second and do two things. One, I want to talk a little bit about what agentic AI is and isn't. And then I'm going to show you a video that I made using Google's Google Notebook LM tool. And they have a new feature that was added recently that lets you not only create podcast audio files, but lets you create videos, short videos that explain reports, documents, information that you upload. In this case, the trend report that is live on the Area and Research site. So we'll take a look at that as well. And the video actually talks a little bit about agentic too, but I just want to make sure we level set, and not a surprise, most of you probably already have a really good handle on what agentic is, but I just want to make sure we touch on that. So, in 2023, 2024, everything was really about large language models and generative AI and co-pilots, assistants, right? But 2025 and forward, it's really more about systems that take action, autonomous, collaborative, contextually. And I like to think of it, when I think of agentic, I like to think of it as, it's an agent that has the capability to perceive its environment. It has the capability to plan, has ability to take action, and it has the ability to learn from the outputs and outcomes from those actions. In other words, it's goal-based, and it refines its performance over time based on the input from the performance against those goals. Anyway, so that's sort of my basic idea of what it looks like. But let's before we get into this anymore, let's take a quick look at this video. I think you'll enjoy it. It's interesting and a little entertaining too. So let me bring this up.
We're pretty used to thinking of AI as a tool, right? Something we command to answer a question or maybe write an email. But what if AI could be more than just a tool? What if it could actually be a teammate? Well, that's the whole idea behind Agentic AI, a technology that's literally transforming AI from a passive assistant into an active, autonomous digital coworker.
And this quote, man, it just nails it. Just picture this for a second. An AI agent, let's call her Maya, isn't waiting for you to tell her what to do. She's proactively monitoring your company's supply chain, spots a potential disaster, and automatically coordinates with a supplier's system to fix it, all while you're fast asleep. That's not science fiction anymore. This is the new reality of work that Agentic AI is building right now.
So what exactly is Agentic AI when you get right down to it? It's all about autonomous systems that can pursue goals. See, with other AI, you give it a specific task. With an agent, you give it an objective. It then looks at its environment, figures out the best way to get it done, takes action, and, this is the key part, it learns from the results to get even better next time. Okay, this slide is super helpful because it really shows where Agentic AI fits in. Think of RPA. That's like a factory robot, just following a very strict, pre-written script. No deviation. Then you've got generative AI, which is kind of like a brilliant conversationalist, but it has to wait for you to give it a prompt. But Agentic AI, that's a whole different level. It's high autonomy. It has a mission. You don't tell it how to do something, you just tell it what you want to achieve and it figures out the rest. So, to help us wrap our heads around this massive shift, our source material breaks it all down into 3 tiers. We're going to look at the inevitable trends that are already happening, then the emerging ones that are just around the corner, and finally, we'll get a little glimpse of the future frontier. All right, let's dive into Tier 1. And listen, these aren't some far-off predictions. These are the trends that are already making a huge impact on businesses today. So as companies are, rushing to deploy all these cool AI agents, they're hitting a brand new kind of headache. It's called agent sprawl. Imagine you hired a dozen absolute geniuses to work for you, but none of them can talk to each other or coordinate their work. That's agent sprawl. You get these siloed AIs just creating chaos. The solution? An orchestration platform. Basically, it acts like a digital project manager that gets all your AIs on the same page, working as one cohesive team.
And you can see right here, this is not just a theory. The biggest names in tech, we're talking Salesforce, Microsoft, IBM, they're all in, already building these platforms. They're creating what is essentially a brand new middleware layer that's going to act as the central nervous system for this entire digital workforce. And this is leading to a massive change in how we work. I mean, in the old model, it was either a human or an AI doing a task. Now, it's a dynamic, hybrid workforce where humans and AI are true collaborators. Our roles are getting elevated, we're becoming the supervisors, handling the tricky exceptions and the big picture judgments, while our new digital colleagues handle all the routine, heavy lifting. It makes sense, right? Just like on a human team, you need specialists. You wouldn't ask your best salesperson to suddenly start handling the company's accounting. It's the same exact thing here. You can't expect one general-purpose AI to be an expert in absolutely everything. Specialization is what makes this whole thing so powerful. And let's look at some real-world examples, because this is where the rubber really meets the road. In finance, you've got Oracle with AI agents that automate the dreaded month-end close. In healthcare, there are agents streamlining super complex medical coding. For insurance, they're processing claims. These specialized agents are already delivering huge value because they have that deep, built-in understanding of their specific industries. Now think about this. When an AI agent can autonomously process an insurance claim or approve a big purchase order, you absolutely have to have oversight. And that's where something called Agent Ops comes in. It's basically a set of practices, a lot like DevOps is for software, that makes sure every single action an AI agent takes is monitored, governed, and has a clear, unchangeable audit trail. This is becoming absolutely essential for managing a digital workforce responsibly. Okay, so that's what's happening today. Now, let's look ahead a little bit to Tier 2. These are the trends we really expect to hit the mainstream in the next, say, 18 to 24 months. And this is where things start to get really transformative. What we're seeing is a big move away from organizing work around applications. Your CRM, your ERP. The new model is all about the workflow. This means work is just going to flow seamlessly across all your different systems, guided by these AI agents. And it's all built on a new architecture. A data fabric to provide the info, the agent layer to take action, workflow orchestration to direct all the traffic, and a governance layer to keep an eye on everything. So the big question is, who's going to build all these new AI agents? Well, the answer might be you. We are entering an era of what people are calling agent factories and no-code builders. These are going to make it incredibly easy for anyone to build, buy, or assemble AI agents with the exact skills they need. Just think of it like an app store, but instead of apps, you're shopping for AI capabilities. And guess what? This isn't just a future idea. It's already happening. OpenAI's GPT store was an early taste, and now you see the big enterprise players like Salesforce and Zoho launching their own agent marketplaces. This is creating a huge ecosystem of pre-built, reusable AI components that's going to speed up development for everybody, big time. All right, let's take a quick look at the more distant future of agentic AI, and then we'll bring it all home with the key takeaways for you today. Just try to imagine this for a second. A world where your company's procurement agent can order new supplies directly from your supplier's order management agent with zero human intervention. These two agents can negotiate the terms, figure out the logistics, and execute the whole transaction, all on their own. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about on the frontier of agentic AI. So we have covered a ton of ground today, everything from orchestration platforms to agent marketplaces. So what does this all mean for you and for your organization? Why is it so critical to be paying attention to the shift right now? Here are 4 key things you need to be thinking about. First, unify your digital workforce. You have to avoid that chaotic agent sprawl. Second, demand governance. Agent ops is simply non-negotiable.
Third, think specialization. That's where you're going to find the biggest and fastest returns. And finally, start preparing your teams for a completely new way of working, because they're about to have some very different kinds of colleagues.
Look, this is not just another software update. This is a fundamental change in the very nature of what work even means. Your next, and maybe even your most effective coworker might not be human. So the real question is, are you and is your organization ready for that?
So hopefully you enjoyed that. If you're just listening on the podcast and not watching, apologize for not being able to see those graphics, but you might want to take a look at the YouTube video. If nothing else, like I said, it's an interesting evolution. So anyway, let's jump into this a little. And the video I think is a really good summary. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time digging into each one of these trends. You can certainly go to the website and download the detailed report, which is very detailed. Or we also have an overview presentation that you can download that'll give you kind of a summary level view of everything. So as I said in the video, divided the trends into three tiers. Tier one, inevitable, high impact. Tier two, emerging but transformational. Tier three, horizon or frontier, will happen in the future, um, but we need some additional infrastructure or standard, something to happen that'll make it, something that we could actually see implemented um, in the near future. So anyway, so tier one, you heard most of those, but I'll just run down the list again just to make sure. So Agentic AI's orchestration platform, this is really important. Obviously, as more agents and more AI projects of different types into your enterprise, the more you need some sort of unifying way to manage those, orchestrate, almost like middleware, even though that term's maybe not the the best word here, but right, almost like ERP was for finance and HR in the late 1990s, is an equivalent layer for your intelligent workflows today. So you're starting to see a lot of companies do that. Domain specialized agentic systems. I've talked about this for a while, and I don't think this is a surprise. The more we use these agents, the more we need to have them be more specialized, either by industry or by function. So, a finance specific agent, or maybe it's a monthly close agent or whatever. Then agent ops, governance, and evaluation tooling. We have to have some better way to do governance to manage these agents. So, agent ops, AI ops, I've called it both, and I hear the both terms used. But I think by the end of 2026, audit trails will be standard, tracking every decision. Much more transparency around what the agent does and doesn't, data access, that sort of thing. So it's not just compliance, but it's a way to engineer to build trust in the organization. Hybrid human agent workforce, no surprise there. We published a whole book on that a few weeks ago. Building the digital workforce strategies for agentic AI success. Might want to check that out. A little commercial there, but it's on Amazon if you're interested. Um, Enterprise memory systems, obviously, the more we use these agents across the business and in different workflows, the more we need them to maintain context across tasks, across workflows. So anyway, that's the tier ones. Tier two, emerging but transformational. We think these will happen, but they're more late 26, 2027-ish. Agent factories and skill stores. We already see marketplaces pop up. Salesforce, App Exchange, Zoho as a marketplace. Oracle just announced one. OpenAI as custom GPT. So, not a surprise there, but more and more enabling the citizen developer to be able to configure their agents, low code, no code, for the AI behavior itself. Workflow-centric enterprise architecture. Frankly, this one I debated whether this is a tier one or tier two. I think this is already happening. The fact that, for years we've siloed our organizations and processes around the application, finance, HR, Salesforce automation, marketing, et cetera. So, where we see this now, though, starting to shift is rather than focusing on the individual application silo, you're starting to focus on the whole workflow. So maybe it's order to cash, or maybe it's, your financial close or whatever. But there are tasks that span applications. In the past, that was a handoff, that was an integration. It was difficult. In the new world, we're going to see this shift as agents become the front end, conversational becomes the way you interface with a lot of applications. And underneath, behind the scenes, you still need all those applications, of course, but the way we use them is going to shift. The UI is going to shift, and the way they function, rather than siloing data, siloing functions, they're going to start to collaborate across organizations, across workflows, and that's a key, I think, for going forward. Regulatory and liability frameworks, no surprise there. That's definitely an area where we need a lot of improvement. Multi-agent collaboration across organizations. This is really important if you think about the supply chain scenario, the need to have agents work across not just your organizations internally, but outside your firewall into other companies, suppliers or providers or, customers, whatever. You're going to need that capability for those agents to connect and work across boundaries. So that means you're going to need a collaborative framework there to make that happen, both agent to agent and agent to human. So then if you look at tier three, these are, a bit more longer term and need some changes to happen, infrastructure or some new technology, whatever. Agentic payments and transactional commerce agents, that's clearly coming. We already see B2C in some applications, and you're going to see more and more of that. B2B as well, as I mentioned, supply chain procurement, that sort of thing. So this has a huge potential, but obviously there's some regulatory issues that are going to need to be ironed out as we go into this. Some trust issues, of course, security, etc. Cross-agent trust and reputation systems. This tries directly into that, working across boundaries. How do you know the agent is from your partner, and it's a trustworthy agent? It's regulated. It's observable. It's transparent, etc. You're going to need something like a, I don't know, agent passport, if you want to think of it that way, like a digital passport that says, this agent was trained in this way. It's reliable. Here's its compliance history. Here's its decision making, transparency, et cetera, whatever it might need there. This is going to be really important for open agent ecosystems, but definitely requires some infrastructure advances that we don't really have the capability to solve yet. But things are evolving quickly. And then lastly, SMB democratization of agentic AI. I think if you look at it today, generative AI particularly saw really, really strong uptake in the small and medium business market. Agentic is moving in that direction too, especially from suppliers like Zoho and HubSpot, where you're seeing much more configured out of the box agents available, specialized agents available across workflows in the companies, particularly attractive for the small and medium business where they are resource strapped, but they could use this as a competitive advantage. So those are the trends, 12 trends for this year. And I think if you want more detail, obviously go take a look at the report. Now, at the end of the report, we look at two things that I want to spend just a little bit more time with, and that's recommendations and then risk and challenges. Now, actually, I'm going to try to see if I can display this. Yeah, here we go. This slide, I apologize if you're just listening, but I'm showing a slide that summarizes the recommendations first. So we have 5 recommendations that I think are important to think about as you go into 2026 and beyond. Establish agent orchestration architecture now. That's absolutely critical. The more agents you want to use, the more this becomes extremely important, critical, as it were. Invest in agent ops capabilities before they're required. AI ops, agent ops, whichever one you want to call it. I've written some things on the blog about that. Take a look, and you can see kind of where we're going with those thoughts. But I think this is going to be really important. Develop domain specialized agent strategy. If you're using specialized agents, and you need them obviously in your business, you're going to need industry specific and task, workflow, organization, process specific as well. Prepare for workflow-centric architecture. This I absolutely believe this is already happening, and we just haven't acknowledged it as maybe as effectively as we we could, that we need to think about what this looks like in the future when the applications really aren't siloed. They fall behind the scenes, and the agents, the agentic AI orchestration sits in front and changes the way we interface with those, the way we do the workflows, the way things happen in the business, and the way that data needs to be used, it's available, et cetera. So I think that is happening. It's important. We're going to see it play out over 2026, 2027, but it's an important change. And then experiment with hybrid workforce models. I said we built we published the book Building the Digital Workforce, and you should take a look at that if you're involved in, building out your digital workforce. But the hybrid workforce is what we're going to see, I think, for the foreseeable future. Humans in the loop, humans on the loop, humans involved in escalations. However that works in the process to provide the level of compliance, governance, and trust that you need in your organization. So, an extremely important development that I think we're gonna need to embrace going forward. And then to take a look at the other piece, the risk and challenges. There's also 5 of these. So just a quick hit on these, and again, a lot more detail in the report. Over automation without adequate oversight. This one's probably the scariest one. The more we allow autonomous agents in the workforce, even if we haven't given them autonomous capabilities yet, if they have that capability, we're gonna have to be careful about how you roll this out, what you need to put in place to orchestrate and govern, make sure that you're compliant with any regulations, et cetera. So moving too quickly without that oversight capability, without that transparency, is hugely risky, and something that you need to think through from a mitigation perspective. Fragmentation and lack of interoperability. We mentioned in the trends, we mentioned the fact that we're going to need agents to be able to collaborate across boundaries, both internally and externally. We're going to need, transparency to actually be able to manage that. So very, very important. Um, as we think about this growth of agents across your business and across your partners. Talent gaps in agent development and management. I mean, I've written about, and there's a lot of discussion around the AI talent gap right now, and certainly that is just increasing as more and more companies embrace this. We're gonna need to change our education programs to really, accelerate the availability of AI talent, particularly agentic trained AI talent, so that you can fill in and manage, use, develop, roll out whatever these agents across your business. Inadequate attention to bias, fairness, and ethics. Probably not a surprise. I mean, there is some inherent bias in the language models themselves. You're going to need to address those. There's ethics. I like to think of ethics and governance as by design. So we need to, as we're laying out these systems, designing these systems, building these systems, we need to think about ethics embedded, and also governance embedded in that system as we move forward. Very important from a compliance regulatory standpoint, but also from a brand perspective, risk perspective as well. And then organizational resistance to change, not a surprise. Change is hard. And certainly as you roll out, and we've seen this over and over again so far in looking at different companies that are being successful or not with agentic implementations, the culture change is still the biggest issue when you're rolling these out. How do you get your workforce, your human workforce, and your digital workforce aligned so that you can have this hybrid workforce design that is, by far the most effective way to use these. Anyway, so that's a quick look at those. The report has a lot more in there, and so I'd encourage you to go to the website and take a look, at the trends, the risks, the recommendations, etc. When you look across these 12 trends, the through line to me seems obvious. Agentic AI is not just another tech cycle, not just like client server or cloud, although similar in some ways, but it's a fundamental shift, right? It's a structural shift in how we build, manage, and trust digital systems. It's the change in how we get work done inside our businesses, organizations. So the enterprise of 2026 will operate less like a set of apps and more like an ecosystem of intelligent collaborators, some human, some digital, all orchestrated around shared outcomes, shared goals, and working together to accomplish those goals. So if you want to explore, the full length trends report, you can find that on arianresearch.com under research reports. I'll put the link in the show notes. And if you are interested in how to prepare your organization for this, check out the book, Building the Digital Workforce, Strategies for Agentic AI Success. It's a practical guide to leading in the age of intelligent agents. So, I think that's a pretty good summary. If you have any questions, obviously put them in the comments or info@arianresearch.com. Feel free to email me, michael@arianresearch.com. Happy to engage around that. And as we go forward, it's an exciting time. I think the trends and predictions for next year are exciting. A lot of opportunity as we go into next year and beyond. So, good luck. If you need help with the implementations, with the strategy, that sort of thing, reach out. We're happy to engage around those things as well. So thanks very much for listening today. And that's this week's Disambiguation. And that's the show for this week. Thank you all for joining us. Remember to like, share, and subscribe to the show. If you enjoy the show, please leave us a review to help others find us. For more research on AI and other software, check out arianresearch.com. If you're an expert in AI, generative AI, or business automation, either as a provider or an end user, email your information to disambiguation@arianresearch.com. Don't forget to join us next week. Disambiguation is an Arian Research production. I'm Michael Fauscette, and this is the Disambiguation Podcast.